They say you never forget the day your dignity gets trampled. Well, let me tell you, I'll never forget the moment when the airport lounge fell silent and the manager's voice, sharp as a slap, rang out, "You don't belong here. Wait outside." Rain slamming down outside, my expensive coat soaked, and every head in the room turned away, nobody knowing that within minutes the very people humiliating me would be begging for their jobs. I didn't plan revenge that morning, but when the moment comes, sometimes you don't get to choose what you become in other people's stories. I'm Simone Carter, CEO. Yes, but that morning, to the world, I was just another black woman stepping out of a blacked-out Lincoln, heels clicking on wet concrete. I'd just landed from Paris, 3 days with no sleep, running off caffeine and adrenaline, and a $1 billion deal finally closed. All I wanted was a few quiet minutes in the first-class lounge at Stonemont Regional. But even before the glass doors finished sliding open, I caught the look. Jason, the lounge manager, mid-40s, sharp suit, smile like a blade, blocked my path before I'd even put my bag down. "Excuse me, miss. This area's reserved for first-class guests only. I'll need to see your boarding pass and membership card." My smile barely flickered. I handed him both. Platinum card glinting under the chandelier. He held it up to the light, tilting it as if he expected to find it stamped with fraud. I kept my face neutral, watching him study the card a little too long. "Never seen cards like these," he muttered, voice rising just enough for nearby passengers to hear. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" If I'd had any illusions, they died then. "I assure you, these are genuine. Please, check." He didn't budge. "You'll have to wait outside while I verify. We have to protect our high-end customers." He pointed at the door like a principal sending a kid to detention. What do you say to that? I could feel every gaze prickling at my back as I stepped out into the rain. Coat clinging to my skin, makeup running just a little. Inside, one after another, men in suits, white women in pearls, floated past. No questions, no delay. I watched as Jason greeted them with a smile, ushering them in without even a glance at their credentials. 25 minutes. That's how long I stood there. By the time Jason came back, the rain was running in streams down my neck. "All right," he said, barely glancing at me. "We'll let you in because of the weather, but we'll be keeping an eye on you." No apology, no hint of embarrassment, just a warning, like I was some sort of threat. I could have lost it, honestly. I wanted to. Instead, I walked in, past the stairs, and sat down in a corner armchair, head held high, legs shaking. I heard Jason murmur to the girl at the desk, Mia. Her name tag said, "Keep an eye on that one." If I'd screamed, would it have made a difference? Would it have changed the way Jason kept glancing over at me, or how the other guests seemed to sink deeper into their chairs? I tried to remind myself who I was. I tried to sit with grace, but inside I was a mess. Humiliated, angry, and suddenly deeply tired. This wasn't new. Not really. I'd built Carter Air from the ground up, signed their checks, paid their salaries. I'd even interviewed Jason, once upon a time. But he didn't remember me. And right now, I was just another inconvenience, maybe even a problem to be managed. I wasn't sure if I was more hurt or just exhausted. I could feel the sting of every sideways look, every careful whisper. But what made it worse was how easily everyone else pretended nothing was happening. Even Mia, young, maybe 21, glanced at me with guilt, but stayed silent, frozen by her own lowly position. and me, the woman who built this empire. Suddenly, small and alone in a room full of people who looked straight through me. Eventually, I stood, grabbed my bag, and made my way to the jetway, my own private jet, a $60 million Gulfstream, waiting on the tarmac. The storm outside was nothing compared to what was building inside me. At the stairs, another wall. Emma Roberts, head flight attendant. I recognized her face. She didn't recognize mine. She sized me up, not bothering to hide her skepticism. "Ma'am, this is a private flight. You can't board here." I was tired of arguing, but I managed. "I have all the documentation. I'm on this flight." She didn't budge, didn't even look at my boarding pass. "You don't look like the kind of passenger we usually see here. Maybe you're supposed to be at the main terminal." I stood there, dripping rain onto the tarmac, feeling smaller and smaller. "I suggest you check my credentials before you say another word." Emma snorted, actually snorted, and waved a hand. "Do you know how much it costs to fly private? I doubt someone like you could afford it." That stung, more than I want to admit. She didn't even lower her voice. The ground crew looked up, then quickly away, not wanting to get involved. She reached for her radio and called security. "We have an unauthorized person attempting to board a private jet. Please respond." A crowd was gathering. Jason hustled over, face flushed. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area. I'll have to ask you to leave." I felt the weight of all those eyes. My hands shook as I pulled out my boarding pass and ID, holding them out. Voice steady but quiet. "Please, check the manifest." Jason barely looked at my papers, laughed, and showed Emma. "Look at this. Black corporate card. Fancy documents. I'm not buying it. Anyone can fake this stuff." Emma joined in, her laugh bitter and loud. "Nice try, sweetheart. Security will handle it." At that point, I wondered if I should just give up. For a second, just a second, I let myself believe them. Maybe I'd lost my edge. Maybe all those years fighting for respect hadn't changed a damn thing. But then I remembered. This wasn't just about me. Every insult, every icy smile, every microaggression in every boardroom and lobby I'd ever swallowed down, they were all here now, swirling in this rain, soaked standoff. I forced myself to breathe. I looked Jason dead in the eye. "I'm asking you one last time. Check the manifest. Or you'll regret it." He just shrugged, rolling his eyes. "You'd better make that call if you want to keep this act going." So I did. I called my COO, my younger brother, Marcus. I didn't bother to hide my voice. "Marcus, it's Simone. I'm being blocked from boarding my own jet at Stonemont. I want every executive on a call, now. And get security to pull all the camera footage from the last hour." For the first time, I saw Emma's mask slip, just a flicker of uncertainty. But she squared her shoulders, clinging to authority like a life vest. "Security's on the way. I hope you're ready to answer for this little stunt." The air changed. The pilot, Captain Jensen, emerged from the cabin, tablet in hand. He'd heard my name. "Emma, maybe we should double-check the manifest," she snapped. "If you want to keep your job, get back in the cockpit." Lucas, the ground supervisor, tried, too. "Maybe we're making a mistake." Emma's voice cut him off. "Lucas, I know who belongs here. If you don't want trouble, walk away." Every bystander froze. The only sound was the rain pounding harder, as if the sky itself was furious at what was happening. And then, finally, a quiet voice broke through. Mia, the junior attendant, stepped forward, eyes down, voice trembling. "Miss Carter, I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner. This This isn't right. Emma wheeled on her. Get back inside, Mia, or you'll be next. I reached over, laid a hand on Mia's shoulder. Thank you. Courage matters, even if you're scared. Emma stared at me, face pinched with rage, but for the first time. Jason looked unsure, glancing at the ground. The next few minutes blurred. My brother arrived, flanked by legal and security. No more smiles, just cold efficiency. Marcus's voice cut through the tension. Simone, are you okay? I just nodded, but inside, I was shaking with a cocktail of anger and relief. Marcus turned to the staff. Why was my sister, CEO of Carter Air, treated like a criminal in her own company? Emma tried to stammer something about security protocol, but Marcus cut her off. Do your protocols include profiling passengers by race? Or is that your personal system? Emma's face blanched. Jason, next to her, suddenly found the tips of his shoes fascinating. Captain Jensen handed Marcus the manifest. There it was. My name, Simone Carter, CEO, owner, proof. The moment of reckoning landed like a thunderclap. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to gloat. I just looked at Emma and Jason. From this moment, you're both terminated. Security will supervise you while you collect your things. Carter Air does not tolerate discrimination. Neither of them protested. Jason's hands shook, face ashen, lips thin. Emma tried to speak, but no words came out, just a small, choked gasp. The kind people make when their whole world caves in. The ground staff stared, their faces a mix of shame and disbelief. The silence was almost holy. Nobody cheered. Nobody moved. Marcus addressed everyone. This isn't about two people making a mistake. It's about a culture that allowed it. That changes today. I turned to Mia, the only one with the guts to speak up when it mattered. You're promoted. Effective immediately. And Lucas, who'd at least tried to push back, got a nod of recognition. But for Emma and Jason, there was nothing left. Emma's eyes darted around, searching for someone to defend her. No one did. Jason gathered his few belongings, shoulders hunched, and disappeared into the downpour. Reputation washed away as quickly as it had been built. Emma lingered, hoping for a word of forgiveness, but I gave her nothing but silence. That was all I had left for them. When it was over, I stood by the window of my jet, watching the clouds finally begin to break. Sunlight slanting through the rain. There was no celebration, just a quiet, aching satisfaction. I'd taken back my dignity. I'd reminded everyone in that room, myself included, of who I was and what I stood for. The lesson is simple. Power means nothing if you're not willing to defend your own worth. And on days like this, that's the only fight that really matters. This is JR.